Good afternoon and welcome back to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on the 2005 Nissan 350Z. This one has the DE engine and an automatic transmission, and we're going to be changing that fluid and the filter today. So this filter is a little bit different than your typical transmission filter. This is more of a screen-like material, almost like what you find on your window, only much more fine. Usually they're good for the life of the vehicle, and when I say that, I actually mean that. I've said that, well, I've repeated that from what other manufacturers have said in the past and disagreed. This I actually agree. These are built heavy duty. You can pretty much clean them out. But, okay, here's the big but. If you're going to drop the pan, like I'm going to, so I can show you guys the whole process, you might as well buy the screen, in my opinion. If you're going to be taking the screen off, it's just easier. You gotta buy a gasket. These come with a gasket usually. So you're buying a gasket anyway, you might as well just buy the screen. You're taking it off, then you don't have to clean your existing one. That is 100% up to you. So there is some rumors I've read online about having to remove the valve body to get this screen taken out. I don't believe that's true. We're gonna find out. Stay tuned, watch the video and see if we have to or not. I'm gonna say I'm 80% sure we're not gonna have to remove the valve body to get this screen off and on. So you don't really need a whole lot. You need, your basic oil change stuff. Some blue gloves, some towels, a drip pan. I bought 7 quarts of ATF. I don't know how much we're gonna need. I have no idea. I think this holds over 10, which means we'll probably go almost half of that. So I'm guessing between 4.5, 5 quarts. I don't know that, just theorizing. You may notice if you've seen my other videos, I'm typically, when it comes to transmissions, religious about using the manufacturer transmission fluid. So this car calls for Nissan matic-j. Nissan doesn't sell matic-j anymore. It's all matic-s. Matic-s replaced J. It's just a synthetic version of matic-j from my understanding. Completely compatible, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So you upgrade to matic-s. Now, almost always I use manufacturer transmission fluid. I want to get this done today. I don't feel like driving 45 minutes each way to the dealer, so I went to my local area and got this Valvoline Max Life. So this is a learning experience for me. It does say that it is compatible with both matic-d, matic-j, matic-k, and matic-s. So it covers everything. Take that with a grain of salt. Just because an aftermarket manufacturer says they're compatible doesn't mean that they actually meet all the standards that the manufacturer does. It should mean that, but I feel like there's some aftermarkets that claim that don't actually meet that. So take that with a grain of salt. I have no idea how this is going to work out. We're going to find out. So anywho, like I said, we're going to replace the screen. If you want to just replace your fluid and do it as a routine, on a routine basis, you don't really need to buy this. You don't even need to buy a transmission gasket. Just pull the plug like you do your oil, your engine oil, and put your plug back in when you're done. We're going to do this whole thing though, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let's do it. Alright guys, I just got this lift and it makes life so much easier. I love it. You don't need a lift to do this job, but it does make it easier for sure. I have done this on my back underneath the vehicles before. Not this specific one, but this is your drain plug for the transmission pan, and as you can see, it is on there exceptionally tight, way too tight. I'm moving the whole entire car trying to break it loose. You only need about 25 foot-pounds, which is about when the crush washer crushes. No more, guys. I don't understand why so many people snug these on. This is beyond snug. It's ridiculous. But this is your drain plug. Go ahead and pull it out and let your fluid drain, just like an engine oil change. It's nothing special at this point, but we'll get more complicated here in just a few minutes. So at this point, while it's draining, you can take the drain plug if you didn't drop it, and there might be a little metal on it. There might not be. This one is actually pretty clean, so see if you can see that. Probably not. I want to wipe it off in this blue towel, and there's actually no residue on it because it's not magnetic. If you want to get a magnetic drain plug, they're pretty cheap. I'm probably going to buy one and put on here because it's just a little extra security. There's probably magnets in the pan. But what I was going to say though is if at this point, once this finishes draining, just like an oil drain, if you're changing your engine oil, at this point you can probably go ahead and plug this plug back in, fill up your fluid, and call it a day. Obviously change your crush gasket, crush washer. I'm going to go in, and there should be magnets on the bottom side of this pan, especially since this is not a magnetic drain plug. I'm going to go ahead and pull the pan, check for those magnets, clean them off, clean that screen, or replace it, whichever needs to happen. But if you're just doing routine maintenance and you want to change your fluid every 30,000 or 20,000 or 5,000 or whatever you're doing, you could probably get away with just dropping the plug, draining the fluid, putting it back in, and with crush gasket and filling her back up. We're going to go a little bit further though. If you feel the need to go further, stay tuned, and I'll take you on that drive, on that ride, whatever. So I need to get one of those extendable ones like they have at the shops. That'll be nice. I really enjoy working under this lift. This is super nice. I'm on a little stool right now. I can roll around, and obviously I can't get all the vehicles this high because the ceiling, this car is low enough I can get it up higher than the minivan and whatnot. So I got a lot more room to work. So to take off the pan, you don't have to put this plug back in. I'm going to, because it's just going to make my life less messy, I hope. So I want to plug it in just to stop the fluid from draining. And I'm going to end up removing this again later and putting a crush gasket on it. I'm not done with this job, so don't chew me out too bad yet. This is just so that I can remove this drain pan and plug without getting everything all messy. Okay, so I'm probably still gonna end up with some drippage, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out from underneath, get it out of my way. This also I cleaned before we pulled this out. I cleaned the pan so that when I drain this into my appropriate disposal container, I can see how much residue or metal flakes might be in the pan. You don't have to do that, it's just what I do. I'm also going to measure how much I took out to give me a good guideline of how much fluid needs to go back in. So let me move this out of the way. Okay, with that out of the way, I can move this out of the way for now. Now I have access to all these bolts. So there's quite a handful of them. All those are gonna have to come out. Make sure you have a gasket to replace your pan with, because you're gonna want a new gasket when you put your pan back up. If you don't have a new gasket, I would recommend getting one before you take the pan off. And actually on that note, I should probably make sure that the one I bought actually looks right. So this gasket actually came with my new transmission screen, which, like I said, I'll link one down below for you. I'm just going to kind of hold it up here just to make sure that everything matches up, which it looks like it's going to, so we should be good. Now that I know that, I feel much more comfortable taking this off. So let's go ahead and zippity-doo that off. So sorry about the lighting, the camera autofocus sucks, and I have the exposure way up on the editing side so you can see what I'm doing, sort of. We're just taking all these bolts out, keep track of them, you don't want to lose them. I left one bolt on each side until I was ready to drop the pan. You will lose some fluid even though you already drained it through the plug. The plug is not at the lowest point on the pan, so be wary of that. Once most of that fluid drains out, hold the pan up with your hand and take that last bolt out. An impact screwdriver is super handy for this unless you've got insane ability to hold your arms above your head for a long time. So again, I apologize about it being blurry, but it is what it is. So we are saving all this fluid only so that we can measure it out later. That's going to be fairly important, makes it a lot easier. These are your magnets. You got 2 of them sitting in the pan. Mine were actually really clean from what I expected. They were not bad at all. Because the fluid is so dark, I'd like to think nobody's ever changed it before, but based off how tight that bolt was on the drain plug and the magnets not really being full, I really don't know. So this is the new screen we're using. I will link it down below. It's just a metal mesh. You can probably clean your old one. This is very cheap. It wasn't that expensive just to buy a new one. You're gonna go up in here, you're gonna unbolt it. So you have 3 of them that are nuts, they're through bolts. I think an impact gun is going to be insanely helpful to change the screen without removing the whole valve body. With the impact, I was able to blast all 3 of those nuts off from the through bolts. And I was also able to tighten them with the impact. I don't know how easy that would be with a regular ratchet. If you try it, let me know how it goes, because I'm curious. So anyhow, this is your screen. You're just going to pull all the screws out, bolts. I am pulling them out and putting them in the new filter, just so I know which location the long ones and short ones went. Not necessary, but it is helpful for later before you accidentally bottom a long one out in a short spot. Alright, so we get to our last nut, our bolt, and we can go ahead and remove it. It is kind of in there oddly. Look all the way around on all the sides. There was a clip holding it in. Not a bolt, but a clip. Also, if you're not taking out the whole valve body, those through bolts will be kind of in the way and you have to work around them. So this is the one that was up in there. As you can see, it is not bad. There's no metal chunks on it whatsoever, which makes me happy. If you're going to have chunks in your transmission, this is probably about where they would be, I would assume. So if you want to clean it, you can clean it. This is some brake clean. I'm not really going to do a thorough job because I'm going to put a new one in just for video purposes. You can see how much discoloration there is. This is an aluminum color and it was pretty dark. So do as you wish. Now I'm just transferring my bolts to the old one so that when I put the new one up I can just grab and go and I don't have to feel for where the short ones and where the long ones were at on the screen. It's a handy little trick. Alright, so this is our new filter slash screen slash whatever you want to call it. I'm going to just put this up there. Very important to make sure all the wires are clear. I accidentally pinched one of them and had to take this all apart to remove that wire out of the way. So learn from my mistakes, try to do that ahead of time. I did the 3 nuts on the through bolts first just to make sure I could do it. If you can't, you're going to have to take down that whole valve body. So the best way to do this, in my opinion, from what I experienced here, is to hand thread those nuts on as much as you can until the bolt starts spinning, and then grab your impact and just barely tighten each one a little at a time and just bounce back and forth. You're kind of depending on the weight of the screen to hold the nut still, which is why you go very slow. You can see I'm just gently squeezing the trigger, because if you just pull and go, then the whole bolt's going to spin, and then you won't be able to get the other 2 on as well. So I'm just using a little flathead screwdriver to put pressure on the plate, and this actually went way smoother than I anticipated. I was mentally prepared to go ahead and take out the whole freaking valve body, but I did not have to, so it was very nice and a kind of relief. So at this point, you can go ahead and put the rest of your bolts back in just as they came out. And yeah, you guys are well on your way to finishing up here. Stick with me, we're going to get all the way through the end. Also, by the way, I have a PayPal link in the description below if you have any desire to support me financially. Also, the Amazon links do help me. I get a little commission off those if you click on them and order within a certain amount of time. So I appreciate that. You guys have been doing great helping me out. So you're going to torque these down. I believe it was 86 inch-pounds per. This is the pan. The gasket was really nasty on here. I usually use a plastic scraper, but it was breaking my plastic blades, so I went with a chisel, which actually worked out great. You just have to be very careful not to mar the metal surface because, well, you don't want leaks later. So this actually worked out really good. It's very easy to mar the metal surface, but like I said, my plastic scraper was breaking because this gasket was seized on there really bad. Alright, so once you get all that clean, go ahead and get all that residue out of the pan, and ooh, that looks pretty. Alright, so these are your two magnets. You can see the little dimples in the pan. These magnets just go around that dimple. And clean them off first, obviously, of any metal shavings. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay out my gasket on top because there is a directional. You can see in the bottom right corner there's two holes. Those need to be in the right spot. And then you can go ahead and put these in. You see me using the impact. I was not tightening the bolts down. I was just getting them to sit flush with the, to pull the pan up against the transmission, but not tightening them. We're going to torque them down in a little bit. It took a little while to get the gasket right. It seemed like I'd get one bolt in and the gasket would move, and I'd have to grab some needle nose pliers or a pick to pull that gasket back for the next hole to line up. You can probably alleviate that by putting several bolts in ahead of time, as far as through the pan and the gasket, and then holding it up and bolting them in little by little. I don't know if that'd be better or not, but it is an option. So like I said, I just used the impact to get the bolt started up into the transmission. Then I switched to a hand ratchet because I did not want to over tighten any of these. And the weakling office dude that I am now, my arms were burning by the time I was done with this. So anywho, get all those bolts in, and then the hand ratchet to get them just a little bit more snug, and then here we are with the torque wrench torquing them down. I went with 80, I think it was 82 foot-pounds. I could be wrong, but it was somewhere in there. Foot-pounds, inch-pounds. I went with 82 inch-pounds. Anytime I said foot-pounds today, I meant inch-pounds, except for the oil drain plug. That would be 25 foot-pounds, I believe. All these little M6 bolts are, I believe, 82 inch-pounds. Alright, so we went through, we got them all, and then we're going to do them all again just to make sure we did get them all, which was good because I had missed one. This is your drain plug. If you want to buy one with a magnetic tip on it, go for it. I'm just going to reuse this one. I pulled off the old crush washer and now I'm putting on the new one. I will link these down below as well. I always use a new one. There's great debate on which side the flat spot goes on the washer. I don't care. I've had Nissans for a very long time and I've put it on both ways and I've never had one leak. Again, like I said, I believe this is a 25 foot-pound torque spec. That just comes out to approximately when the gasket crushes. So if you wait till you feel the gasket crush, go just like an 1/8 inch more, and you're good, an 1/8 turn. We are now measuring out our fluid because this is going to give us a much more accurate guesstimate of how much needs to go in. So we measured out 5 quarts here, so I just dumped in 5 quarts, took it for a test drive. The way to check your fluid on this is you take a test drive, get it up to operating temp, but not burning hot, and then you put the car in park while it's running, and you pull the dipstick tube and you check your level that way. So by measuring out how much you drain, you can get pretty close. So when I was all done with this and I took the test drive, I was barely under the max mark. So I was actually happy right at 5 quarts. Again, I like to use manufacturer specified fluid. This says it's compatible. I didn't have time to run to the dealer, so this is what we're using. Crossing my fingers that Valvoline knows what they're doing and I'm not going to have transmission issues. There's hundreds of thousands of people in this country that use this stuff without issues, so I'm assuming I will just be one of those. So you're going to fill this up. Like I said, 5 quarts is what I used. Probably less if you don't drop the pan. You lose a lot more fluid when you drop the pan. Because like I said, the plug is not at the lowest point of the pan. Clean yourself up, take that test drive, check your fluid level, and happy driving, guys. There is a 10mm bolt you can put back in this dipstick too, but I've never bothered to put it back. Alright guys, easy as that to replace your transmission fluid and filter or screen, clean it, whatever you want to do. Probably took 2 hours from start to finish. That includes scraping the gasket, removing everything, putting it back together, putting it back in. Not bad, so yeah, if you like what you saw, make sure you leave me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, watch my other videos, share them all. We used about 5 quarts, probably a little bit over. I'm not 100% positive on that yet. I'm going to take this for a test drive and then check the dipstick. So we're going to do that, and I think it's going to be just a little bit more of a 6 quart, probably 5 1/4. That's just me theorizing based off of what we took out. So I'm going to do that. Thanks for watching, and yeah, comment down below if you do this project. Let me know how it goes. Thanks, guys. See you next time.